So welcome to another episode of Opinions. We are recording this on, I can't remember the date, but it's early parts of October. I think it's the 10th of October as we record this, which means in South Africa, we just moved to lockdown level 1 all of about 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. Point is, the great thing about that is we get to see our guests face to face and actually have a chat with them. And I'm very much looking forward to it. This episode starts this series on entrepreneurship because it's a very big conversation that we need to be having in the country, that's for sure. It's one that I'd already planned for us to have going into lockdown, but I think the implications of lockdown on business and on entrepreneurship, or whether it's side hustles, whatever level of business we're talking, is one that we need to be digging deep into and having those conversations. Anyway, without babbling on too long, today I'm joined by a friend, but outside of her being a friend, she's a slasher, so she does this slash this slash this slash this slash this, right? And in there you can add things like PR, you can include corporate comms in there, you can include a business owner in there, you can include recently now the owner of a nightwear line. I don't even know if that's a term, but she'll correct me, okay? But more importantly, recently just got nominated as one of Mail & Guardian's 200 young South Africans to watch, if I'm getting that correct. Anyway, without going on for too long, Cleo Johnson is sitting down with us to give us her opinions on entrepreneurship. Hey, Cleo.
Hey, KG, thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here, girl. Last time we saw you, it was your party.
Yes.
Your birthday.
My birthday.
You want to tell everybody how old you are?
29.
Oh my God, 30.
Yeah, next year 30.
It must be tough.
It's rough.
You know, I've been 30 for like 4 years now.
How's that going for you?
Yeah, anyway, we're not here to talk about me, we're here to talk about you. So, anybody who's watching who doesn't know anything about you, you want to give some background and just tell everybody who you are, what you're doing?
Sure.
With everything, you'll be then.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I was having other thoughts about what happens in the kitchen at night, but that whole other conversation.
And that could be a whole YouTube series on its own. But cool.
Dude, let's talk about your business journey. Like, so obviously, like I said, we've just come out of level 1, and with that, there've been like a lot of setbacks for a lot of business owners. I don't know if you want to share yours first, or do you want to start where the journey started a few years now? Let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Let's start at the beginning. How did you get into this?
Okay, so I worked for hotels for the last 8+ years, and towards the beginning of 2017, Jan 2017, I was actually supposed to move down to Cape Town to open another hotel with the hotel group that I was with. And I was just, I don't know, there was something that I was just over it. Yeah. I can't really explain it. And I was like, you know what, I haven't really spent time with myself, or like, you know, kind of ventured into other things with other kids. So I was like, cool, I was gonna go to India, do my SIVA, and then, yeah, God had other plans for me. So I think literally in the space of 3 weeks, I had my company up and running. I was working out of a Starbucks. That's where I met my first client, who was sitting opposite me.
Those are the best stories. If you don't start out of a garage or Starbucks or something like that.
It's between Starbucks and McDonald's Wi-Fi, guys. And I'm saying my business is for both. So, yeah, another thing as well, that like for me, I've always bootstrapped all my businesses. So I didn't have funding. I didn't have like $1 bajillion to start. I had a borrowed laptop. I think my cell phone was like 4 years old at the time. Literally, I started with the bare minimum. But yeah, I had my skills and I just kind of put myself out there. So yeah, fast forward, how many years now? Almost 4 years. Yeah, it'll still be 4 years. So fast forward, like say 3.5 years. I've been privileged enough to open 3 hotels, work internationally with clients. Yeah, and just kind of pursue my passion, which is hospitality. I really love the industry. I'm fortunate that I was able to make something out of it, like post-industry essentially. And then yeah, it kind of branched off into other things. So early on this year, I was able to form a conglomerate essentially with other hospitality professionals. We'll be focusing on Africa and kind of just setting us up, you know, in the sense that everything is run by Africans for Africans, essentially with that mindset. Yeah. And then along with Coco Collection, like I mentioned, that's all natural skincare that I produce myself, as well as the line of comfort wear and kimonos. Yeah.
I still want a onesie that you must make for me. I don't know if you make onesies yet, but that's a whole other conversation for another time.
I mean, we can do product development.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Look out for it. KG and Coco Collection coming out with a not kimono, one thing. Everybody talks about this entrepreneurship thing, right? Like, especially now because it's a hot topic, and oftentimes, like, it's made to seem so easy. And I just want to call bullshit on all of that, right? Because honestly, I think it's almost dangerous and potentially even reckless. It should be called an act of, like, it's a war crime to send people into a space without equipping them with the knowledge of how to move in that space. And especially if that space is one that has got body count as high as entrepreneurship does. So I want you to be real with me. I want you to be very honest with me and talk about the challenges of being in business. 1, starting it up yourself and bootstrapping. 2, 3, being a woman in business, and what some of the hardest things for you were. Let's take us to moments where, this is what was happening and this is what I needed to do. And this is how I got out of it. Don't give me the glam one that sounds really sexy. I want the visceral stuff. You know what I mean?
Right. So yeah, 100% entrepreneurship is not for everyone. I think, and I almost want to say, I feel like it's being portrayed as a trend at the moment. Everybody's like, like, we need to start up, we need to have businesses, and that's great. I'm not putting anyone down, but it is not for the faint-hearted. Like, I'm going into my 4th year now. Still don't know how I got to it. I'm just like, because I can literally remember to my 1st year getting stuck without petrol, going to clients, literally barely making it, and having people saying, "You shouldn't want to go back into corporate." Like, just. And it's disheartening, like, it really is.
But they're well-meaning. You understand why people say that?
No, 100%.
Like, you get it.
I get it. And the thing is, I'm just like, and also, again, as well, I think for your parents and the older generation, it's a safety net, and 100% so. But I think because deep down I knew, I don't even know if that's a thing, like, when you kind of just know, you believe in yourself, like, I'm going to make this work somehow. But and that's the thing. So definitely not for the easy. Definitely not for the faint-hearted.
Wow, come on, English. That's English going.
And like, looking at it, there's always, I'm almost going to say, there's almost different cycles that you go through. So there's the no money, the late invoices, I'm having to pay staff. And eventually I went on to contracting people because I think it just made it easier, not because, I'm trying to exploit anyone. It's just that they're covered, I'm covered, and I don't leave people hanging in the lurch. It also gives them the flexibility to take on more clients.
Yeah. And it's also a shared risk model. That you're taking your risk by obviously contracting them, but on their side as well, they're mitigating their risk by saying I've got access to other opportunities as well.
100%. Like, I mean, I know now during COVID, like a PR agency, let's call it a PR agency. They had this massive contract that they wanted. It was like 5 million. They had hired these people in, and then a couple of months later, they had to retrench because of COVID. I would never want to do that to someone. Like, it's just, I think that's just one thing that I've encountered on my journey, that if I ever take somebody on, it will be on a contract basis. And also because I want you to give you the opportunity that, if you're done here and you want to start your own thing, you're free to do it. I think so many people get trapped in corporate, and not necessarily in a bad way, but they never get to pursue their dreams or upskill, that sort of thing, kind of go on their personal development journey. So, but digressing, but yeah, going back. So, I mean, I know sometimes on Instagram you'll see the champagne and
especially in your world, PR world. Oh my God.
Okay, well, but that's the thing. A lot of people don't know that a lot of these things are free.
Yeah.
So, for example, people saw me at Togo this year, and I'm thinking, honey, the hotel paid for that.
I had FOMO. I was like, what did I Togo? I had Togo FOMO.
Like, literally, like, so things are paid for by the client. Yeah, I get to live my best life. But also, I work my way to that point where clients do give me a full bouquet. So there's those benefits to it as well. But now going into, you were saying, there's so many questions.
I know, there's literally a question that I threw away. My big thing is just, I want you to take us to one of the moments in your journey that really almost brought you to a fuck it moment. To, you know what, this is not worth it. I don't even know why the hell I'm doing this.
Oh God, there's so many.
And that's the thing, right? But we don't tell those stories. So I want those stories. I want that story.
So
and how you got out of it.
And how we got out. Yeah. So for me, I'm very transparent, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, leadership. I will always tell the ID side because I feel like it's not told enough. So I'm very grateful that we are having this conversation. So I remember, I think it must have been 3 months into my journey. So like the beginning. Oh, one thing I must say, and it was something I heard from somebody who was also trying to get into like the entrepreneurship space. And they were like, oh, you know, it's been a month and they've tried all they can. So they're giving up. A whole 30 days.
You are not serious.
I was like, but sir, like, and that's my thing. You need to have, never mind tenacity, you need to have That's what I'm looking for.
Staying power.
Yeah, staying power or sticking power, whatever you want to call it. Like you're gonna have to put in so much work to even get past like the first mark. It's not necessarily like with corporate, I always say it's not an input versus output. So if I do this spreadsheet, it's gonna equal X. Or if I go to this board meeting, I know I'm gonna get this client. No, it's not that easy. Here, I feel like it's kind of anyone's game, so it's really up in the air. There's no security in that sense, or like something that will buffer you at least.
Yeah.
So I remember it was 3 months in, I would think I was down to my last coin, because obviously you lose your salary, and I think I withdrew my pension at the time, so I could pay your debt and just make sure that I had like the bare necessities to live on. That's another important thing on entrepreneurship. Make sure you have as little debt and expenditure as possible. So in my case, like I said, I had an old phone, I had a laptop, I didn't have Wi-Fi, so I was going to a cafe every single day. So it's just things like that where I tried to keep my costs low. And then 3 months in, I was at the end signed my biggest client at the time, and obviously they were only going to pay me at the end of that month, and I'd already had started working for them. And I remember on my way there, petrol lights is flashing, just like, okay, just need to get there and I will like make a plan. Did I not get stuck? And I think I was 10 minutes out from a meeting, and I remember just crying, and I'm like, God, like, how is this what you brought me into? I had a very good job. Like, when I say like we were moving into head office, like we were doing the things, and I left that to be stuck on the side of the petrol,
looking like a Popeye,
basically, and like your bank account looking at you like.
And the people around you going, who sent you? Who said you must go and do this? We said you shouldn't do it. Why are you doing it?
Like, how do you? So, and I think that was so disheartening for me, because I was just like, I was grinding for like, at that time, like 3 months. I was just like, I was tired, sleepless nights. You're trying to push yourself out there. Yes, I was working on a client, but there was nothing tangible yet. And I was just, am I doing this? Like, and I was so bleak about it. And like, again, very grateful for my family and some of the people in my life. So stepdad came to come bail me out to give them a call.
That's not an easy call to make.
Oh, no, it's not. Trust me. When I say between pride and having the I told you so conversation, I was just like, it was just not, it's just something that I've had to work on over a couple of years, because it's just like, and I think it's something my mom has always said, if I can't help you, she's like, then by all means ask somebody else. But she's like, you come to family first. So for me as well, that's another thing. I don't take out loans for my business. I will rather make fetch happen, move things around to either fund something or to get through the next month. But I refuse to take out bank loans or do the funding through DTI or whatever the case may be. Just because I feel like there's just too many strings attached, and I never want my business to tank because I have to owe $1 bajillion to someone. So with that, like, great, help me out. And I remember fast forward to this year, COVID was hella rough. So going from living in Togo to my whole best life, obviously paid in dollars and all of that, and having the contract kind of cut short because COVID happened, and then having to come back to South Africa with, again, what was in my bank account. Just like, but I wasn't planning for this. And I think that week that I came back to South Africa, I was actually supposed to be in the States, for a speaking engagement. And then from there, I was going to go to Peru. Like, literally, I had my entire year, like, set up. I was going to go and be a digital nomad. I was literally, I had all these plans, essentially. And I remember, I think it was it July or August? And things had just gotten to such a point where things slowed down dramatically with even like the fewer projects that I was getting in. Where now I was just like, so now how am I going to survive? And again, going from, I would say, abundance to lack is such a thing for an entrepreneur, because tomorrow something can change. And that's the other thing we need to keep in mind. So always having a rainy day fund, or, having measures in place. But now what happens to the point where all of those measures are exhausted or, dried up? And I still remember sitting on my kitchen floor and I was just like in tears, because I think I was broken, because I was like, where to from here? One, I'm in hospitality. Nobody's traveling. And it's all of these things. So I'm in a great position, but also not, because the industry I work in isn't functioning at the moment, or open for that matter. And I just remember trying my kitchen floor and I was just like, okay, I need to pick myself up. But let me just have this moment, because...
Can I break down first, please?
But that's the thing, because I think as well as entrepreneurs, you have to keep it strong and together all the time. And nobody really gets to see you break down and whatever. So again, like, very grateful for the people that I have in my life, because I break down, have my moment, gather myself. And I think that's really important as well, is like on your journey, you eventually weed out who you have in your corner and who you don't. And I think that's very, like, an important life skill in general. Surround yourself with people who are going to speak life into you, who are going to lift you up. When I say, like, again, I think what month are we in now? October. So August, September, when I say I literally had nothing, and I will always speak about God, how God provided, either through people or random things. People calling me up like, oh, God told me I need to send you money. Thanks. It was small little gesture like that.
How many people like that around?
Or people like rock.
Why aren't you guys calling me and saying God sent you to send me money? I mean, really.
And it's so funny, like, I think it was that moment when I got a watermelon garden. And at the time, again, I was in quote unquote, I had nothing. And I was just like, I have a whole award for business. And I am literally on my kitchen floor crying with nothing. And I think that is such a stark contrast that some people don't see. They just assume, oh, she must have millions in the bank account. Yeah, sure, we did at one point. Like, it was great, but nothing. And I think for me, that's also why I think when I got awarded, I felt so guilty because I'm like, I didn't feel like it was so bad this year. When I say my imposter syndrome this year was so bad, and funny enough, I had a mini revelation about it last night. It's because I'm so used to being the busy person, and I attach my productivity to my success.
To your sense of value.
100%.
Yeah.
And I know there was something on Instagram like a couple of weeks back of, some people don't know who they are outside of their careers.
Or their titles.
Personally attacked by that because I was just like, that kind of me. But it's not, and I don't want to take it in negative. Like, I always say my business is an extension of who I am, 100%. So if my business is down, I feel down, and it's one of those, I can't explain it. It's like my baby.
Yeah.
So with imposter syndrome as well, it was just really bad. Like, and when I say, and I think also why it was also bad is because my business wasn't doing as well. So in my mind, it didn't translate that, oh, I won this award, or I got featured in Forbes, or next month, or at the end of this month, I'm being featured in Glamour for Coco. Like, there's so many great PR moments and like platforms that are being put on. But in the background, my business is like, I want to say crumbling. That's really bad. I want to say it's not doing as well as it should. And I felt in that sense like an imposter because I was just like, business, and it's not translating in the natural. And I think that's just why I'm so disheartened.
You know what? When you say that, the one thing I think about, because we've all been there, especially because when you've got a personal brand, right? And you are always kind of in the public arena, right? Because you're pushing your own brand, but also trying to use it to leverage it for your business interests. But sometimes you are in the public space, but the business isn't doing well, like you're rightfully saying, or it's going through a tough time, or you're dealing with whatever nonsense you're dealing with from a business perspective. And you feel like you're lying to the world because, yes, I'm a business person, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm whatever, and you speak very articulately about whatever it is that you do. But meanwhile, I'm struggling with my own business. For me, I went through a similar process, and there's been cycles of that. And it's always come to my mental wellness because you can't help but be affected by that because, if it's almost like you're saying to yourself, oh, they're going to find out now, they're going to find out now, they're going to find out now. And if you don't do anything about it, if you don't constantly work on your mental wellness and your spiritual wellness, yes, but your mental wellness is very, very important. You won't get through those moments because you'll start to relive that as a true reality. Like that imposter syndrome, you're going to start to manifest it in how you show up. So my question is this then. Clearly, you do work on that.
Yes.
How important do you think it is for any entrepreneur to have a dedicated program specifically around dealing with the mental challenges that come with this journey?
So for me, funny enough, in both instances, so for Mail and Guardian, for Forbes, I spoke a lot this year about mental health. And it's such a big topic for me because it is something that I've dealt with for years. And I feel like I'm getting better with it as time goes on. But when I say it's important to have days and to take a rest. Well, sorry, English again.
Hey, break and a rest.
Break and a rest.
Same of a sickness.
Just to take time out for yourself and not necessarily focusing on work. Because I know sometimes in the time that we take time off, we want to catch up on admin, all of those things. So when I say it's so important, one, to rest, and for me, as my journey and as I've ventured into business, I've now gotten to a point where I don't work on weekends at all. Like at all, I just avoid it because initially I would work 7 days a week because you want to put in the time, you want to get things off the ground, and that's fine. That's part of the journey. But at some point, you're going to burn out, and that's what I experienced.
Yeah.
How erratic my moods are because I was so tired all the time, and that eventually affects your business, it affects your clients, and that's why you need to take care of yourself first. So for me, I mean, never mind the fact that like you listen to podcasts, you know, attend business seminars, webinars. You also need to just, again, it's kind of putting yourself in that mindset constantly and putting yourself in those spaces where, one, you've got an open space to speak about it. So be it you're part of a business group or club of sorts. I mean, there's so many. You have somebody to talk to. I still have a therapist. I've also got 2 pastors as well in terms of leadership that I just speak into, because you need different sounding boards for different parts of your life. And I just feel like at some point you need to invest in that. So whatever that looks like, if it means you pay for therapy once a month or twice a week, whatever it may look like, you need to unpack some way, because it does build up. So between rest and being able having someone to speak to, and then for me, what I find really important and what helped me a lot last year, especially the time that I went through last year, was gratitude journaling. So during my time of recovery, gratitude journaling really like took me out of that negative space I was in, because it allows you to focus on what you have and not what you don't have. And I found what was really nice, it was an exercise this year, funny enough, for imposter syndrome, was the list of what I have achieved, not what I have yet to achieve, or my goals. And it's so nice.
It's so easy to forget that, right?
It's so easy, because all you do is you're busy. You constantly, and for me, I was just like, cool, Maiden Guardian, what's next? And it's not because I'm ungrateful. It's because that's how I've been set up essentially my entire life. It's always great, this fantastic pat on the back, but what's the next goalpost? And it has its downsides to it, because I sometimes forget to be in the moment. But yeah. So
you and I operate as we're still youth, you know, although I think I'm in my last year of youth. as a 34-year-old man, treading on that last year. But I can't help but feel like the business landscape has moved. Like there's been a seismic shift in, 1, how business gets done, 2, who's in business, and 3, what kind of businesses, you know, are thriving in these times. Just from your own observations, what do you think has been, you know, the negative impacts we know of COVID? We all are aware, you know, how it's affected us negatively. But what do you believe has been the positive impact of COVID in the business landscape?
I think you mentioned it, like how business is being done. I love the fact that people are finally on board to do a Zoom call or Google, whatever they want to call it. Because I remember just starting out, like for myself, I don't have an office. Again, something I refuse to spend money on is office space, unless eventually one day I, you know, become that massive. So one, people being open up to that, because previously it was like, oh, if you don't have an office space, you're not serious enough. So that mindset as well. The fact that, you know, a lot of services can be taken online. So for myself, instead of me having to come to your office or come to your hotel, whatever, to conduct a service, I can do it online in the comfort of my home and then produce it with a report. I've seen as well with one of my friends as well. He's in the drone space. And again, as well, all of his stuff, from quotations to, you know, some of the services they offer, again, also shifted online. So I feel like there's so many opportunities that people have taken advantage of and are now developing as well. Which I'm just like, wow, that. Like, it's really so great. And I love the fact that, again, I mean, it's simple because I'm a small business owner. That mindset of, oh, but you don't have an office, so you're not serious. People, that mindset has shifted. Yeah. And people are also more, companies are also more inclined to start using consultants now, because they see the value in it instead of having a person in the office and outsourcing it. I've got a meeting next week as well with another hotel group as well, who are like, they're looking to outsource, they'd rather have it in-house. It's just, it works better for them. Like, great, because I can deliver everything for you without physically having to sit next to you or in the office opposite you.
I think if there's one clear, there are 2 things that have come out of this really positive. One is the need or the ability to have flexibility when it comes to where people work from. Yeah. So work doesn't always happen in the formal business environment, right? I mean, I used to, just on that note, I used to be one of those people who thought business happened with suits and ties, right? A couple of years ago, I realized that was just this idea of what I thought business was. But the true business happens when people are just getting things done. And we get it done on our phones, we get it done on laptops, in jeans, sneakers.
Or pajamas.
Or pajamas, you know. And the work gets done. That's what's most important. And business had taken a long time to understand that. And I think it was the idea of culture. And I think a lot of old ways of thinking in terms of how to build culture and how to also measure productivity, because I want to see you sitting there for me to know that you're doing work. That's the one thing. So working from home, a lot of people are doing it. We now know it's possible. Yeah. Technology allows for it to happen. I think also the value of technology in creating value has become even more so important. The ability for us to do this and the resources we're using to do this versus if you and I were sitting down 5 years ago, I would have had to have all these massive things set up here. You know, we'll probably post a behind the scenes shot of how we're doing this, but the investment is so much less versus what I'm able to do. And I think that's what I'm excited about. If you haven't moved around during the COVID lockdowns, haven't experimented and tried new things and used technology, that's on you.
Exactly.
That really is on you. When you look back, when you look forward, 5 years from now, when you think about what life could be for you and what business will look like for you, how does that look?
So for me, and it's just currently based on stuff I'm working on and the partnerships that I'm kind of working on behind the scenes, definitely working more in Africa. Just that exposure that I had in Togo and just the need that's there, and working again within the hospitality space. So 100% I'll be more in Africa. And again, as well with Coco Collection as well, I'm hoping to obviously be in stores and with various distribution channels as well set up. But yeah, I think that's that. Oh, and obviously my NGO that I officially want set up and registered, because at the moment I do it in my own capacity, but it's still something that is very close and personal to me that I do want up and running. And hopefully I'll be in the NGO space more permanently. Not that I want to forego what I created with Nuclear. It's just I know at some point you graduate to other things, and perhaps I'll have somebody to run Nuclear as well. But that's essentially. So working in Africa, NGO, and the bigger distribution channel for Coco.
I know all those things are going to happen. For young Cleo who's sitting watching this or listening to it, if you're just listening to the audio podcast, what do you say to them? You and I have had many conversations about
my past.
yeah. We've edited a lot out of this interview. But yeah, what do you say to that person?
Wow, girl. You don't even know. What I mean, just Mail and Guardian alone. I don't even think it was on my radar ever. I still remember being at hotel school, and at the time, I mean, how to put it, you kind of are exposed to what jobs are available within the industry. So, everybody wants to work up to be a general manager because there's that. And then there's the head office positions. So they never really speak about, anything outside of the traditional sense of a hotel or a hotel group environment. And I mean, I still remember I wanted to be an air hostess. Yes. So all I wanted to do was travel and be in the industry. But never did I think it was one going to translate into having my own company. And yeah, just being able to be so passionate about something. I think that's one thing I'm very blessed with, is the fact that I'm passionate about something. I know so many people that aren't. So just to be in that space and be able to pursue it and obviously make money from it, I'm very blessed in that sense. But yeah, definitely tell her, continue working hard, continue dreaming as big and as vast as you have, because eventually it narrows itself down. Because I would be very scattered, and I was always like, oh my God, I'm all over the place. But it eventually whittles down because those passions that you have to translate into something. And yeah.
It's a journey, it's a process of finding yourself.
100%. And even with Nuclear.
Yeah.
I remember when I started, I initially was going to be a social media agency. And I realized that an agency wasn't my dream. It was just what was in the industry and what looked like I was supposed to have. Yeah. And then by the end of last year, I was just like, but I'm a consultant. Eventually I had a conversation with a colleague, and it was just like, but this is actually what I do. And I want to say accept that, because I think I had this idea of, I was going to have, the brick and mortar building, and I was going to have staff. And it's like, no, for the lifestyle I want, and never mind the lifestyle, the life I want. It doesn't translate. Yeah.
I think we all get sold that idea of what business is, that it's a brick and mortar environment and etc.
But I think also another important thing is also, it's okay to, I don't want to say adjust your dreams, but kind of just be realistic about them as well. That it's okay that you wanted the brick and mortar, but it doesn't mean you failed because you don't have it, and you've changed your goal or your goalpost essentially.
Yeah.
Because that's also business. I mean, I didn't know I was going to start Coco, but here we are.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was going to form a conglomerate in English, but here we are. There are so many things happening in the background. I was like, I wouldn't even have thought of this when I was just started my business.
Yeah.
And I just think, again, surrounding yourself with people, networking, it eventually exposes you to different avenues and opportunities. And you need to, again, also just prepare yourself for that. Don't be rigid. Be flexible. Be innovative.
I'm a massive fan of Simon Sinek because, the way he articulates the idea of purpose is so simple, whether it's organizational purpose or whether it's individual purpose, right? And, he speaks about the golden circle, the why, the what, and the how. The what you do is PR amongst many other things. The how you do it is really well, right? Excellence is the only standard accepted. What I want to get a sense of as we wrap up our conversation is your why. What drives you when you wake up in the morning? and you start doing what you do. Why do you do? When you are faced with adversity and the only reasonable thing and sensible thing to do is to stop, why don't you stop?
Ooh, okay. It's a deep question.
No,
so my why for me, I feel like a lot of things eventually translate into what it is you do career-wise, or how you operate essentially. So I know one of my love languages is service. Like actually, it's my first one essentially. And I remember like thinking back as to why I got into hospitality.
Brothers out. Number one love language is service. I'm just saying. And from what I know, she's single. Anyway, continue. You were saying. Black type, O negative.
So I remember like thinking back a couple of years back as to why I got into hospitality, and I was like, oh, it's because I love people and I love being able to, provide a good service, being able to make someone's day. So for me, I'm quite people-centric and service-centric. And like kind of fast-forwarding now, I mean, I look into it that, yes, I mean, there are days where I'm just like, I don't want to say I hate it, but it's just, there are days where it's just so bleak and you're just like, oh my God. But I know that there are people relying on me in terms of my clients, in terms of the people that, because obviously with my business, I've always set all my businesses up that they donate 10% of my gross profits to charity or everything. No, I believe in giving back 100%. So for me, if I don't bring in an invoice or bring in a client, there are people also in the greater scheme of things that also don't benefit from it. So then I'm letting multiple people down. And there's one thing that I hate is letting people down, because also that's one of the things that I carry is people pleasing, unfortunately.
Ooh, you're not both guys. People pleasing is my thing.
People pleasing, but I don't want to say in a toxic way. It's less toxic now, but just in the sense of like, I know there are people that rely on me. I may not have kids, but I've got people in my life that depend on me. So there's that. There was the other part of your question?
No, it really was what drives you. What is your why?
Essentially, it's people and good service. Like, to be honest, like when I say by nature I'm a healer and a nurturer, and that's why I say I still want to go into the NGO space full time. I just have a passion for what I do. I have a passion for people, and I have a passion for just delivering something that's outstanding all the time. And I try to beat that every single day. I think it's also showing up for myself every single day that, you know what, yeah, we had a bad day, but we're going to dust ourselves off and we're going to try again. And I think that's one thing that you have to drill into yourself eventually, that you can try again tomorrow. Again, if you're spiritual, religious, by God's grace, every day God gives you grace to try again, to get up again. So
thank you very much for sitting down and chatting with me, my friend. It is always such a pleasure. I'm sure we're going to have another conversation at a later stage.
Out into the universe.
Put it out into the universe, it'll manifest. But I'm not going to let you go without doing this. It's a quick five.
Oh my goodness.
Right? First thought that comes into mind. I'm going to give you a word. Give me the first thought that comes into mind. Love.
Ooh, selfless.
I said love, you said ooh. Okay. It is the first word that came into your mind. Hope.
Oh, happiness.
It's like everything we start with. Oh, okay.
Oh my goodness, this picture.
Quicker. Africa.
Future.
Entrepreneurship.
Calling.
Woman.
Leadership.
Tomorrow.
Peace.
Me.
I don't know.
Legacy. Gratitude.
Gratitude. Ooh. Sorry, say it again. Gratitude. God.
Now.
Friendship. That sounds so weird.
There's no right or wrong answer. But again, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
These funny runs are killing me. Stress.
So there you have it, Cleo Johnson. Took some time to chill, hang out with us, share her opinions on entrepreneurship, on mental wellness within entrepreneurship, and the future of entrepreneurship, I guess, on the African continent. I'll see you on the next one. Points.